Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah. A pleasure to meet all at last, and well, welcome to HJN episode 705. And more importantly, welcome to the crossover that I've been talking about for quite some time. And well, now that I've come this far here on HJN, I might as well say I still have yet to give it a name. Yeah. But I can tell you right now, it'll be some time before I actually come up with something very compelling and catchy. Until that happens though, let's just say that this crossover is going to involve car marques. Yeah. So let's just get started by talking about the company known as Saab. Saab Automobile, or Saab Automobile AB, Saab Motor Company, or anything else that you might call it, was a Swedish car manufacturer that ran between 1945 and 2012. So, nearly 70 years it had ran. This was, of course, a time when a lot of car marques were indeed starting to come together to create more practical, lively, stylish, and durable cars out there. Because in spite of the many things that had happened, including the enormous economic boom and the subsequent birth of the baby boomer era, as it was known as, when American citizens and other citizens who were, of course, out there in the war zone of World War II, they started coming back to their homes. Rightfully so. Once the war was over, a lot of things began to take place, and during the early to mid-40s, America had itself an enormous thing going on. But in terms of anything that happened overseas when it came to car manufacturing, there weren't too many out there in the industry that, of course, sought a lot of fame and popularity. Saab, of course, was there to change how Sweden was out there in the business of car manufacturing and automobile as a whole. Automobile manufacturing, of course, was not as common as it was today. But back in the 40s, Saab, of course, was one of those that pretty much rendered the infancy of European-based car manufacturing. But whether you call it a PAL formatting or whether you call it something different, Sweden, of course, did not have much to do with car manufacturing way back in the day. Although today it is probably more recognized for such brands out there like Koenigsegg, where we have a lot of new models out there to look for. But when Saab first started back then, there weren't as many expectations put together. As far back as 1949, when they introduced the model known as the Saab 92, they started to eventually spark up some new sales opportunities, and within the likes of the few decades that had passed, crossing to different other wars that began to take place, and eventually to other big booms that happened during the economy, and the many other events that had also taken place. Throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way up until today, where Saab has now become very recognizable amongst most people out there, whether you might be a fan of the brand itself, or you might just be a connoisseur for a lot of defunct companies out there, like myself. Then you can find a lot of enjoyment within Saab's somewhat good library of cars out there, including a two-door coupe convertible known as the 9.3, and then of course you have the crossover slash SUV model known as the 9.7, with various other models here and there. But as the years went on, the company, of course, had some financial debt, and it ended up closing down for good in 2012. Nearly 70 continuous years of running had officially left a big mark on today's economy. The recession, of course, between 2007 and 2009 was mostly to blame for the failure of a lot of companies, as it turns out. And let me just say that there is another company that I'm hoping to talk about tomorrow, but this was, of course, before the recession took place. But here we are. Saab is recognizable, but not quite as memorable as the next one that I'll be talking about tomorrow. But if you want to see more, go down on my channel. Then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.